Hello there, and welcome to the Curious Mind Sleep Channel. Tonight, we are drifting further than usual, into the unknown. Ahead of us lie 100 of science's greatest mysteries, a journey that moves from the questions we are almost ready to answer, to the enigmas that may outlive the stars themselves. We will move through 3 circles of mystery tonight. First, the questions we are on the verge of solving. These satisfy your curiosity. Then, the deep puzzles that have multiple brilliant theories, but no final answer. These awaken your wonder. And finally, the completely baffling. The mysteries that require us to simply let go. You don't need to make it to the end. In fact, the goal is not to finish, but to drift. Let curiosity be your guide until sleep takes over. There is no need to remember any of this. You are welcome to close your eyes. Let's begin. Mystery number 1. Why do we sleep? You spend a third of your life unconscious, vulnerable, eyes closed, awareness gone. Why would evolution design this? In 2012, scientists discovered something remarkable. Your brain has a waste disposal system. During deep sleep, channels between brain cells expand. Fluid flows faster, washing away toxic proteins that accumulated while you were awake. Metabolic debris gets flushed out like a tide cleaning a beach. But here's the gap. Scientists still don't know why consciousness must shut down completely for this to work. Could your brain clean itself while you're awake? Why the total blackout? What remains mysterious is that transition moment, that threshold between thought and dream, between awareness and nothing. Breakthroughs may be near, and tonight, as you drift off, your brain will perform this ancient cleaning ritual once again. Mystery number 2. How does anesthesia work? Every day, thousands of people surrender to medical unconsciousness, a mask over the face. Within seconds, the world disappears. We use anesthetics with remarkable precision, yet we don't fully understand how they erase consciousness. Scientists know anesthetics disrupt neuron communication. They interfere with chemical signals between brain regions. Some target specific receptors. Others affect different pathways. But the exact mechanism, the specific circuit that separates waking from anesthetic sleep, remains unclear. What we're missing is the master switch, that final common pathway where all anesthetics converge, the place where consciousness depends most critically. Every surgery teaches us more. Soon, we might map the complete circuit of awareness itself. Mystery number 3. What triggers the placebo effect? Give someone a sugar pill. Tell them it's powerful medicine. Sometimes, remarkably, it works. Pain decreases, inflammation reduces, the brain releases real endorphins, real healing occurs. Belief becomes biology. Scientists understand some mechanisms. Expectation activates reward pathways. The brain anticipates relief and provides it. Your body learns to heal at the ritual. The pill, the white coat, the quiet room. But here's what baffles researchers. Placebos work even when people know they're taking placebos. Awareness doesn't break the spell. How can conscious knowledge of the deception not matter? What remains mysterious is the translation mechanism. How does belief change physical reality? How does expectation become chemistry? It is a reminder of how powerful your mind truly is. Mystery number 4. Why do we yawn? Your mouth opens wide, lungs fill deeply, jaw stretches, then satisfaction. Everyone yawns. Fetuses yawn in the womb. Yet science can't fully explain why. The old oxygen theory has been disproven. Yawning doesn't change blood oxygen levels. Current thinking focuses on brain cooling. Your brain generates heat. When it overheats from fatigue, Yawning brings cooler air through your sinuses, like a radiator. Another angle suggests state transition. Yawning marks shifts between sleep and wake, a neural reset, preparing your brain for changed activity levels. Perhaps it's both. What puzzles researchers is why such a universal reflex remains unexplained. The answer feels within reach. Understanding yawning means understanding how we transition between worlds. Mystery number 5. How do migrating animals navigate? Imagine flying thousands of miles to a tree you've never seen. Monarch butterflies do this. 4 generations live and die on the journey north. The 4th generation flies back to Mexico, to the exact same forest, the exact same trees their ancestors left. How? Birds fly similar distances. Sea turtles return to birth beaches decades later. Research reveals multiple navigation systems. Many animals sense Earth's magnetic field. Tiny magnetite crystals act as internal compasses. Some birds use quantum mechanics in their eyes to see magnetic fields. But what fascinates scientists most is integration. How does an animal combine magnetic data, sun position, star patterns, and landmarks into one coherent map? The missing piece is understanding animal consciousness itself, how they experience direction. Mystery number 6. What causes the northern lights? Curtains of green and red light dance across polar skies, shimmering, rippling. Ancient peoples saw gods and spirits. Now we understand the mechanism. Mostly. Solar wind carries charged particles toward Earth. Our magnetic field deflects most away, but some funnel toward the poles. These particles collide with oxygen and nitrogen molecules high in the atmosphere. The collision excites atoms. They release energy as light. Green from oxygen, red from nitrogen. But here's the gap. We can't predict exactly when or where auroras appear. The interaction between solar wind and magnetic field is chaotic. Small changes create big effects. What puzzles researchers is the fine detail. Why certain rippling forms? Why the pulsing rhythms? The precise physics remains elusive. Understanding auroras better helps predict space weather. But for now, we just watch the lights dance. Mystery number 7. What is the nature of time? Time feels fundamental. Past flows into present, present into future. One moment follows another. Linear, inevitable. But physics suggests time might be an illusion. Einstein showed time is relative. It slows near massive objects, dilates at high speeds. 2 observers disagree about what is happening now. There is no universal clock. Quantum mechanics adds strangeness. At tiny scales, particles can influence their own past. The equations work equally forward and backward. So is time real? Some physicists propose the block universe theory. All moments exist equally. Past and future are as real as the present. Time doesn't flow. We just perceive sequence. Others think time emerges from quantum entanglement or from increasing entropy. What we don't know is whether time is fundamental or emergent, a property of reality or a property of you. Mystery number 8. Why do some animals live so long without aging? Lobsters can live over a century. They don't show typical aging signs. Cells keep dividing. Some jellyfish species revert to juvenile form. Biological immortality. Naked mole rats live 30 years without cancer. Greenland sharks might live 400 years. They are swimming the Arctic right now, born before Shakespeare wrote his first play. What's remarkable is that aging isn't universal. It's not required by physics or chemistry. Some organisms simply don't do it. Scientists found clues. Efficient DNA repair prevents mutations. Enhanced protein quality control removes damaged molecules. What puzzles researchers is why most species age if immortality is possible. Why did evolution favor finite lifespans? The answer might transform human medicine, but nature keeps her secrets close. Take a deep breath here. We have drifted past 8 doors, 8 questions. Science is slowly learning to unlock, from the depths of sleep to the lights of the polar skies. Let these questions settle in your mind. There is no rush. If you have drifted off already, that is exactly as it should be. For those still with us, let's continue the gentle journey. Mystery number 9. How do birds learn songs? A young songbird listens to its father sing. Months pass. Then one day, the juvenile produces the same melody. Note, perfect. How? What's fascinating is the parallel to human language. Birds have a critical period. If they don't hear the template song young, they never learn properly. They need auditory feedback too. Scientists mapped specialized brain regions. Neurons fire when the bird hears the template. The same neurons fire when he sings. Mirror-like processing. But what puzzles researchers is the learning algorithm itself. How does the bird compare his output to his memory? How does he adjust motor commands to match? What computation transforms sensory memory into motor skill? The answer feels close. Soon, we'll crack the code of how memory becomes performance. Mystery number 10. What causes ball lightning? During thunderstorms, glowing spheres sometimes appear. They float through rooms, pass through walls, hover in midair, then vanish with a pop or slowly fade. Hundreds of eyewitness reports exist, yet no consensus explanation. One theory proposes silicon vapor. Lightning strikes soil, vaporizes silicon, creates glowing nanoparticles. Another suggests electromagnetic fields create plasma bubbles. The challenge is rarity. Scientists can't reliably study ball lightning in laboratories. Each natural occurrence is brief, unpredictable. What remains mysterious is which theory explains the actual phenomenon, or whether ball lightning lumps together several different things. It is a reminder that even our own atmosphere holds surprises. Mystery number 11. How do plants sense gravity? Roots grow down, shoots grow up. Even in complete darkness, plants know which direction is down. How do they sense gravity? Scientists discovered statoliths, dense starch grains inside specialized cells. Gravity makes them settle to the bottom. This settling triggers calcium signaling. Hormones redistribute. Growth curves appropriately. But here's the gap. We don't know the complete mechanism between statolith position and gene expression. What proteins sense physical displacement? How does mechanical movement become a chemical signal? And there's deeper mystery. Do plants sense gravity directly? Or do they sense its effects on cellular structure? What puzzles researchers is the sensitivity. Plants detect tiny orientation changes. The signal amplification must be substantial. Soon, the full pathway will be known. Understanding how life senses the fundamental force of the earth. Mystery number 12. Why do zebras have stripes? Bold black and white patterns. Every zebra unique, visible from far away. But why evolve stripes at all? One study found stripes deter biting flies. Insects avoid landing on striped surfaces, less disease transmission. Another theory proposes motion dazzle. Predators misjudge speed and distance when zebras run. Some researchers think temperature regulation. Black and white areas create differential heating. Air currents form, cooling the animal. Social recognition might matter. Zebras recognize each other by stripe patterns, like fingerprints. But what remains unclear is the primary driver. Did stripes evolve for one purpose and provide others as side effects? What we're missing is the ancestral context, the original reason nature painted the zebra. By now, you've touched a dozen ancient questions, each one bringing us closer to understanding ourselves, our planet, our place in existence. Questions about dreams and songs, about how plants know down from up. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. You don't need to hold on to any of these facts. They will be here whenever you return. Let's drift to the next mystery. Mystery number 13. How do plants communicate? Beneath every forest, an underground internet exists. Mycorrhizal fungi connect tree roots. Trees share resources through these threads. A mother tree feeds her saplings carbon. Warning signals spread when pests attack. Scientists confirmed this using radioactive tracers. Carbon moves between trees. Electrical signals travel along the threads. But here's what puzzles researchers: the complexity. What information gets shared exactly? Is it intentional or automatic? Do trees recognize their own offspring versus strangers? Some evidence suggests kin recognition. Mother trees favor their own seedlings. But the mechanism remains unclear. What we're missing is understanding the language of the forest, whether messages are targeted or broadcast. New techniques track molecular flows. The whispers of the woods may reveal themselves soon. Mystery number 14. What determines handedness? About 90% of humans are right-handed, consistent across all cultures and throughout history. But why? And what makes the other 10% left-handed? Research shows genetic influence, but no single gene determines handedness. Many genes contribute small effects. Environmental factors matter too. Hormone exposure in the womb, birth order. Each older brother a woman has increases the odds her next son will be left-handed. Brain lateralization correlates. Language typically processes in the left hemisphere. Motor control crosses sides. But why did lateralization evolve at all? Why not keep everything symmetrical? What advantage does brain specialization provide? What puzzles researchers is the ratio's stability? Why 90-10, not 50-50? It is a reminder that even in our hands, we carry history. Mystery number 15. Why do migraine headaches occur? Throbbing pain, light sensitivity, visual auras, zigzag lines. Millions suffer. Yet few treatments work consistently. Scientists discovered cortical spreading depression. A wave of electrical silence moves across brain tissue. Blood vessels constrict, then dilate. Inflammation follows. Genetic factors play roles. Family history matters. Triggers vary. Stress, sleep, weather. But here's what remains unclear. Why does the cascade start? What tips the brain into this state? Why do some people get migraines while others never do? And there's an evolutionary puzzle. Why would such a debilitating condition persist? Does it provide hidden benefits? Perhaps heightened sensory processing, enhanced threat detection. It is a reminder that pain is complex and often mysterious. Mystery number 16. How did life begin? 4 billion years ago, Earth had chemistry, but no life, just molecules reacting. Then somehow, non-living chemicals organized into living cells. The first life. How? Scientists demonstrated many necessary processes. Amino acids form spontaneously. RNA can replicate itself. Lipid membranes self-assemble. But here's the gap. We don't know the sequence. Which came first? Replication, metabolism, or compartments? How did these three requirements integrate into one system? Some researchers propose RNA world. Others favor metabolism first. What remains mysterious is the specific transition, the step from complex chemistry to actual life, from molecules that react to systems that evolve. Perhaps soon, we'll recreate life's origin in a flask. The answer to our ultimate origin might be near. these are the questions where we are almost there, where one breakthrough, one insight could change everything, from the origin of life itself to the networks beneath forests. If you are still awake, know that it is perfectly fine. Resting is enough. 4 more mysteries. Then we pause. We slow down. We take our first deep dive. Let's continue. Mystery number 17. What powers ultra-high energy cosmic rays? Particles strike Earth's atmosphere with impossible energies, more than any particle accelerator can produce, trillions of times more energy than we can generate. Where do they come from? Scientists traced some to active galactic nuclei, supermassive black holes accelerating particles. Others might originate from gamma-ray bursts, the universe's most violent explosions. But what puzzles researchers is the acceleration mechanism itself. How do natural processes reach energies that seem physically impossible? There's also the cutoff problem. Above certain energy, cosmic rays should interact with background radiation. They shouldn't reach us, yet some do. What remains mysterious is whether unknown physics is involved, or just extreme versions of known processes. New observatories track these rare events, waiting for a whisper from the deep cosmos. Mystery number 18. Why do locusts swarm? Most of their lives, locusts live solitary, avoiding each other. Green coloration, calm behavior. Then suddenly, everything changes. They transform, turn brown, become aggressive, seek crowds. Billions gather. What triggers this? Scientists discovered serotonin, the same chemical regulating human mood. When locusts bump into each other repeatedly, serotonin surges. This triggers the transformation. But why did this evolve? What benefit does swarming provide? They consume everything, then starve. One theory proposes an escape strategy. When food runs low, better to swarm and migrate than slowly starve. But what puzzles researchers is the threshold precision. How many bumps? What determines the tipping point exactly? It is a reminder that behavior can change in an instant. Mystery number 19. What is the nature of dark energy? The universe expands. That's been known for nearly a century. But in 1998, astronomers discovered something shocking. The expansion is accelerating. Galaxies push apart faster over time. Something drives this acceleration, something filling all of space. We call it dark energy. It comprises 70% of the universe. But what is it? Einstein's equations allow a cosmological constant. Empty space has positive energy density, vacuum energy pushing everything apart. There's a problem though. Quantum field theory predicts vacuum energy. Calculate the value. The number comes out wrong by 120 orders of magnitude. The worst prediction in physics history. Maybe dark energy isn't constant. Maybe it changes. Quintessence, a dynamic field evolving over time. New telescopes map expansion history precisely. The answer will come from better data. Mystery number 20. How do eels navigate across oceans? European eels are born in the Sargasso Sea, mid-Atlantic, thousands of miles from Europe. As larvae, they drift on currents. They enter rivers, live in fresh water for decades. Then one day, they return, swimming thousands of miles back to the exact patch of ocean where they hatched, to spawn and die. How do they navigate? Scientists found some mechanisms. Eels sense magnetic fields. They detect ocean currents, smell chemical traces. But what puzzles researchers is the precision. The Sargasso Sea is vast, yet eels congregate in specific zones. How do they pinpoint location in an endless ocean? And another mystery. We've never observed eel mating in the wild, never found eggs, only larvae drifting. The entire reproductive event remains hidden. Their secrets swim beneath the surface, Safe for now. Now let's slow down. Go deeper. Our first spotlight. For decades, physicists knew something was missing. The standard model predicted particles should be massless, but they're not. Electrons have mass. Quarks have mass. Without mass, atoms couldn't form. You couldn't exist. Something had to give particles mass. But what? In 1964, Peter Higgs proposed a field. The Higgs field. It permeates all of space, like an invisible ocean. Particles interact with this field as they move. The stronger the interaction, the more mass they have. Think of it like moving through water. Easy for some shapes, harder for others. The resistance is analogous to mass. The Higgs field is the water. For 50 years, this remained speculation. Beautiful mathematics. Building the Large Hadron Collider took decades, miles of tunnels beneath Switzerland, thousands of scientists, all to find one particle, the Higgs boson, the ripple in the field. July 4, 2012. Discovery. Peter Higgs attended the announcement. He was 83 years old. When the data appeared on screen, he cried. It's a reminder that science rewards patience, the willingness to wait a lifetime for nature to answer. But here's what keeps physicists awake at night. The Higgs boson's mass is precisely wrong. Not wrong as in incorrect. Wrong as in unnaturally specific. Quantum corrections should make the Higgs incredibly heavy. Heavier than anything. Yet it's light. Suspiciously light. As if something cancels all those corrections to stunning precision. This suggests the standard model is incomplete. Something beyond it stabilizes the Higgs mass. Maybe supersymmetry. Maybe extra dimensions. We don't know. The discovery answered one question, but opened several more. We're almost there on understanding mass. Almost. But almost isn't quite. Mystery number 21. Why do we have such large brains? Human brains are 3 times larger than expected for a primate our size. This costs enormously. 20% of your energy fuels your brain. Growing a big brain delays maturity. So why did it evolve? The social brain hypothesis proposes complex society-drove expansion. Tracking relationships requires computation. Bigger brains win social games. Others emphasize tool use. Technology requires planning. Abstract thought. Language might have driven it. Communication enables cumulative culture. Learning accelerates. But what scientists don't know is which came first. Did brains grow then enable these behaviors? Or did behaviors drive brain expansion? In evolutionary terms, human brains expanded rapidly. Something selected intensely for intelligence. What environmental challenge made bigger brains worth the cost? Mystery number 22. What causes the placebo response to vary? The placebo effect isn't constant. Sometimes sugar pills work nearly as well as real medicine. Other times, they're useless. Research shows context matters. If a doctor believes treatment works, patients respond better. Expensive treatments outperform cheap placebos. Injections beat pills. 2 pills beat 1. The ritual matters. Personality factors play roles. Optimistic people show stronger responses. Genetics influence it. Certain gene variants affect placebo responsiveness. Dopamine and serotonin pathways. But what remains unclear is prediction. Can we identify who will respond? Can we enhance placebo effects deliberately? What puzzles researchers is the upper limit? How powerful can belief become? Where does the effect stop? It is a reminder that healing is an interaction, not just a chemical. Mystery number 23. How do homing pigeons navigate? Release a pigeon 1,000 miles from home. It flies straight back, even from places it's never been, even under overcast skies. Scientists discovered multiple navigation systems working together. Pigeons use magnetic fields. Tiny iron crystals in their beaks sense magnetism. Proteins in their eyes detect magnetic fields through quantum effects. They also use sun position, landmarks, perhaps even smell, odor gradients across landscapes. But here's what puzzles researchers. How do these systems integrate? How does a pigeon weigh different cues? What happens when cues conflict? And there's redundancy. Disable one system, they still navigate. Extraordinary backup systems. What remains mysterious is the decision algorithm, the computation combining information into direction. Soon, we'll decode the pigeon's mental compass completely. Mystery number 24. What determines sexual orientation? Human sexual orientation shows remarkable diversity. Most people are heterosexual, some homosexual, others bisexual, asexual. The spectrum is broad. Research suggests biological factors influence orientation. Twin studies show genetic components, but no single gene determines it. Many genes contribute small effects. Prenatal hormones matter. Birth order affects male homosexuality. Each older brother increases odds slightly. Something about maternal immune response accumulates. Brain structure shows subtle differences. Certain regions correlate with orientation. But here's what scientists don't know. How do these factors interact? How much is genetic versus environmental? What puzzles researchers is evolutionary persistence. Theories propose answers. Perhaps genes that produce homosexuality in males increase fertility in female relatives. Or same-sex attraction provided social bonding benefits. The answer likely lies in a complex dance of biology and environment. Mystery number 25. How did photosynthesis evolve? Life's most important invention. Capturing sunlight, converting it to chemical energy, releasing oxygen as waste. Photosynthesis transformed Earth completely. Scientists trace it back billions of years. Early bacteria developed simple versions. Later, cyanobacteria perfected oxygen-releasing photosynthesis. The process is remarkably complex. Multiple proteins, coordinated electron transfers, light harvesting complexes. But here's what remains unclear. How did all components arise? The system only works when all pieces are present. How do you evolve something that doesn't function until complete? One possibility is gradual addition. Each step provides small benefit. Complexity accumulates incrementally over vast time. Another proposes horizontal gene transfer. Bacteria sharing genetic material. What puzzles researchers is chlorophyll's origin. This light-capturing molecule has intricate biosynthesis. How did such specific chemistry evolve? The story of Earth's green engine is still being written. Mystery number 26. What causes mass extinctions? 5 times in Earth's history, most species died. The fossil record shows sharp biodiversity drops, then slow recovery. The most famous is the dinosaur extinction, an asteroid impact, 66 million years ago. Evidence is clear. But what about the others? The Permian extinction killed 96% of marine species. No asteroid. Instead, massive volcanic eruptions, the Siberian traps, releasing carbon dioxide, warming oceans. Each extinction has different immediate causes, yet all produce similar patterns. Rapid biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse. What scientists don't fully understand is survival predictors. Why do some species survive while most perish? Size, diet, habitat, or just luck? And deeper question, how resilient is life overall? It is a reminder that life is fragile, yet stubbornly persistent. Mystery number 27. Why do we have fingerprints? Every human has unique fingerprints, ridges and whorls. Patterns form in the womb, remain unchanged. Traditional explanation is grip. Fingerprints increase friction, help us hold objects. But research challenges this. Smooth surfaces might actually provide better grip. Another theory proposes sensory enhancement. Fingerprints amplify vibrations. They act like antennas for touch. Studies support this. People with clearer fingerprints show better tactile sensitivity. Or perhaps fingerprints channel water. The ridges direct moisture away, like tire treads. But here's what remains unclear. Why the specific complex pattern? Why the whorls and loops? And why are they unique? Most biological features are similar between individuals. Fingerprints vary wildly. What puzzles researchers is whether uniqueness serves any function. Or is it just a developmental byproduct? Nature often paints details we are yet to understand. Mystery number 28. How do bacteria evolve antibiotic resistance so quickly? Penicillin was discovered in 1928. By the 1950s, resistant bacteria appeared. This pattern repeats with every new antibiotic. Resistance emerges rapidly. Scientists discovered several mechanisms. Bacteria pump antibiotics out. They modify target proteins. They produce enzymes that destroy drugs. And bacteria share resistance genes horizontally. One species develops resistance, passes genes to others. Suddenly, multiple species resist. But here's what puzzles researchers. Where do resistance genes originate? Were they always present? Or do they arise as genuine innovations? Evidence suggests both. Some resistance genes existed before antibiotics, perhaps serving other functions. Others are new mutations. What remains mysterious is prediction. Can we anticipate which resistances will arise? It is a microscopic arms race happening invisibly around us. Mystery. Number 29. Why do only some memories consolidate during sleep? You learn many things each day. Most get forgotten. But some memories consolidate, become permanent. Sleep plays a crucial role. During deep sleep, memories replay in your brain. But how does your brain decide importance? What gets consolidated versus discarded? Research shows emotion matters. Memories tied to strong feelings consolidate better. Survival-relevant information takes priority. Novelty helps too. Repetition plays a role. Your brain interprets repetition as significance. But here's what remains unclear. The selection mechanism itself. How does the sleeping brain evaluate memory significance? Is it automatic? Or does some executive process judge? And why specifically during sleep? Why not consolidate while awake? What puzzles researchers is individual variation. Some people consolidate easily, others struggle. Tonight, your brain will choose what to keep and what to let go. Mystery number 30. How do quantum computers work differently? Classical computers use bits, 0 or 1, on or off. Quantum computers use qubits. These can be 0, 1, or both simultaneously. Superposition. Qubits also entangle. Measuring one instantly affects others. This creates powerful correlations, enabling calculations impossible for classical computers. For specific problems, they excel. Factoring numbers, simulating quantum systems. But here's what's unclear. Scalability. Current quantum computers have dozens of qubits. We need millions. Every qubit added makes the system exponentially harder to maintain. Decoherence is the enemy. Quantum states are fragile. Any interaction with the environment destroys superposition. What remains mysterious is whether large-scale quantum computing is fundamentally possible. Or do unavoidable limits prevent it? We are building machines that think in ways we can barely imagine. Mystery number 31. What causes chronic fatigue syndrome? Profound exhaustion, unrelieved by rest, brain fog, pain. Symptoms persist for years. Research found patterns, often follows viral infections. The immune system remains activated. Chronic low-grade inflammation. Mitochondria show dysfunction. Cellular energy production impaired, perhaps explaining the crushing exhaustion. But here's what remains unclear. Is this one disease or many? Do different causes produce similar symptoms? What's the primary mechanism? Some researchers propose autoimmunity. Others emphasize persistent viral infection. Still others focus on metabolic dysfunction. What puzzles medicine is treatment. Few interventions help consistently. It is a reminder of how much we still have to learn about the body's energy. Mystery number 32. How do birds sense magnetic fields? As physicist Klaus Schulten proposed, birds might use quantum mechanics to navigate. Literally. Certain proteins in bird retinas respond to light. This creates pairs of electrons with entangled spins. Quantum coherence emerges. Earth's magnetic field affects these electron spins subtly. The bird perceives this as visual patterns, actually seeing magnetism. Experiments support this. Disrupting quantum coherence disrupts navigation. But here's what puzzles researchers deeply. Quantum effects usually require extreme conditions, ultra-cold temperatures, isolation, yet bird eyes are warm, wet, noisy. How does quantum coherence survive? What remains mysterious is whether nature discovered quantum error correction. Biological mechanisms protecting quantum states. Quantum biology might be more common than anyone expected. Mystery number 33. What is consciousness? You are aware right now. You experience. There's something it's like to be you. The redness of red, the feeling of wonder. But what is this? How does consciousness arise from matter? Your brain processes information. Neurons fire. Somehow, this creates inner experience. Philosopher David Chalmers calls this the hard problem. We might explain behavior, but we can't explain why there's experience at all. Some neuroscientists propose consciousness is information integration. Others favor broadcasting theory. Information shared widely becomes conscious. Still others think consciousness is fundamental. Panpsychism. All matter has proto-consciousness. What remains mysterious is whether we can test these theories definitively. Consciousness might be fundamentally beyond objective study. For now, you are the mystery experiencing itself. Mystery number 34. Do we live in a simulation? Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed a thought experiment. Advanced civilizations could create simulated realities, conscious beings inside simulations. If this is possible, then most conscious beings exist in simulations. So statistically, we're probably simulated. Some physicists look for evidence, pixel-like limits to reality, computational shortcuts in physics. Quantum mechanics shows pixel-like behavior. Planck length, reality discretized at smallest scales. But here's what remains unclear. Could we ever prove we're simulated? Or would the creators hide all evidence? And philosophical question. Does it matter? If your experiences are real to you, does the substrate matter? It is a question that keeps philosophers awake, and maybe programmers too. Mystery number 35. Why do humans cry emotional tears? Most animals produce tears for eye lubrication, but only humans cry emotional tears. Sadness, joy, relief. One theory proposes social signaling. Tears communicate distress. They elicit empathy and caregiving. Another emphasizes stress relief. Emotional tears contain different chemistry than reflex tears, higher protein concentration. Perhaps crying removes stress chemicals, or maybe tears blur vision deliberately, forcing you to stop, withdraw, process emotion, a physiological pause button. But what remains unclear is why this unique adaptation. Why did only humans evolve emotional crying? What puzzles researchers is whether emotional crying provides measurable benefits. Does it actually reduce stress? Tears are the words the body speaks when the mind cannot. Mystery number 36. How do embryos know left from right? Your heart is on your left, liver on your right. How does a symmetrical embryo know which side is which? Scientists discovered tiny rotating cilia, hair-like structures on early embryo cells. They rotate, creating fluid flow, always in the same direction. This flow establishes asymmetry. But here's the deeper question. How do cilia know which direction to rotate? What breaks the initial symmetry? Research suggests molecular chirality. Proteins have handedness, left-handed versus right-handed forms. This molecular asymmetry might template larger-scale body asymmetry. But where does molecular handedness come from? Why are biological molecules mostly left-handed? What remains mysterious is the complete causal chain, from quantum properties to organ placement. Life builds itself with remarkable precision. Mystery number 37. Why do we laugh? Laughter is universal. All cultures laugh. Infants laugh before they speak. One theory proposes social bonding. Shared laughter creates group cohesion, signals safety. Another emphasizes cognitive benefits. Humor requires recognizing incongruity, expectation violation. Perhaps laughter rewards cognitive play, or maybe laughter signals non-threat. It disarms tension, communicates benign intent. But what remains unclear is the mechanism. Why does incongruity feel funny? Why do we find certain things hilarious while others aren't? And there's the contagion effect. Laughter spreads. What puzzles researchers is individual differences. Why do people have different senses of humor? It is a reminder that joy is a fundamental part of being human. Mystery number 38. Why do some animals hibernate successfully? When winter comes, some animals enter hibernation. Bears sleep for months. Ground squirrels drop body temperature to near freezing. Hearts beat once per minute. This isn't sleep, it's near death, yet perfectly controlled. Scientists discovered adaptations. Special proteins prevent ice crystal formation. Gene expression changes dramatically. The brain remains intact despite minimal oxygen. Kidneys don't fail. But here's what remains unclear. The regulatory control. How does the animal initiate and end torpor? What master switch coordinates all these changes? And why can't all mammals do this? Could we induce hibernation in humans for space travel, medical emergencies? Nature has found a way to pause life. We are still learning how. Mystery number 39. What causes the bystander effect? Someone collapses in a crowded space. Dozens witness it. Yet often, no one helps. The more people present, the less likely any individual acts. Why? Social psychologists call this diffusion of responsibility. Everyone assumes someone else will help. Ambiguity matters too. If the situation is unclear, people look to others for cues. If no one reacts, it seems less urgent. But what remains unclear is the neural mechanism. What happens in the brain during bystander situations? And there's individual variation. Some people help despite crowds, others freeze. What personality factors matter? Understanding this helps us fight it, to be the one who acts. Mystery number 40. How do cells know when to stop dividing? Your skin heals, cuts close. New cells replace damaged ones. Then division stops. exactly when needed. Research shows contact inhibition. When cells touch neighbors, they stop dividing. Growth factors regulate division too, nutrient availability. But here's what remains unclear: the integration mechanism. How are these diverse signals combined? How does the cell weigh different inputs? And sometimes the system fails. Cancer. Cells divide uncontrollably, ignoring stop signals. What puzzles researchers is why multiple mutations are required. Cancer needs several hits. Why such redundancy? We are getting closer to complete regulatory maps. Understanding the delicate balance of growth, we have arrived at the second circle. The mysteries here are deeper, stranger. The questions in Tier 1 were puzzles waiting to be solved. The questions here are paradoxes. They challenge our intuition. They bend reality. Let your mind float freely here. You don't need to solve them, just observe them. If you are asleep, let these words be a gentle background. If you are awake, let's drift deeper. Mystery number 41. What is the nature of quantum entanglement? Take two particles, entangle them, separate them by any distance. Measure one. The other changes instantly. No signal travels between them. Yet perfect correlation exists. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. It seemed to violate relativity. Information can't travel faster than light. But experiments prove entanglement is real. Measure one particle's spin up. The other becomes spin down. Instantaneous. Always. Here's where theories diverge. Does measurement create reality? Does the universe split into parallel branches? Or perhaps space-time emerges from entanglement? Quantum connections create geometry itself. Distance is an illusion. As you listen, your brain's quantum processes might involve brief entanglements. You are part of this mystery. Which interpretation is correct? We don't know yet. Mystery number 42. Do we have free will? You chose to listen tonight. At least it feels that way. But did you? Or did physics determine your choice before awareness arrived? Neuroscience finds brain activity precedes conscious decision by seconds. Researchers predict choices from brain scans before you report deciding. The unconscious decides. Consciousness observes. If true, free will might be an illusion. The brain acts, then claims credit. But others push back. You are free if you act according to your desires, even if desires are determined. Or perhaps quantum indeterminacy provides space for agency. Or maybe we are looking at the problem from the wrong angle. Perhaps the you that decides is simply the entire process. You feel free. That feeling matters. Mystery number 43. Is time travel possible? Einstein's equations allow time travel, paths through space-time that loop back. You could meet your past self. Rotating black holes might create such paths, wormholes connecting different times. But paradoxes arise. If you change the past, you might prevent your own journey. Some physicists propose self-consistency. The timeline rearranges to prevent paradoxes. You can't change the past. It already includes your time travel. Others invoke parallel worlds. Traveling back creates a new branch. You change an alternate timeline. Your original timeline remains unchanged. Or maybe nature simply forbids it. Chronology protection. What remains deeply puzzling is whether time travel is physically possible. The math allows it. Does reality? Mystery number 44. What came before the Big Bang? Rewind the universe. Galaxies approach. Temperature rises. At the beginning, the Big Bang. 13.8 billion years ago. But what was before? If time began with the Big Bang, there is no before. Time requires change. Before time, no sequence. The question assumes time existed earlier. Some cosmologists propose cyclic models. Universes expand, contract, bounce. Big bangs repeat eternally. Others invoke quantum mechanics. The universe tunneled from nothing. A quantum fluctuation. Multiverse theories suggest eternal inflation. Quantum fields spawning bubble universes perpetually. Our Big Bang is just one bubble among infinite. Every answer pushes the question back. What caused that? Perhaps ultimate origins transcend logic. Before the Big Bang was nothing. Everything. Both. Mystery number 45. Can machines become conscious? Computers process information. AI beats humans at chess, writes poetry, generates art. But is any of it conscious? Some philosophers say no. Consciousness requires biology, carbon, not silicon. Subjective experience can't emerge from code. Others argue function is what matters. If a system processes information like a brain, it's conscious. The substrate doesn't matter. Integrated information theory suggests consciousness correlates with connection. If AI integrates information sufficiently, it becomes conscious. But how would we know? AI could claim consciousness, pass every test, behave convincingly, yet lack inner experience. Or maybe consciousness is already present in simple systems. What remains mysterious is the measurement problem. We can't detect consciousness directly, only infer it. Mystery number 46. Why does anything exist? Look around. Matter exists. Space, time, energy. You exist. All this is something, but why? Nothingness seems simpler. Default state, no complexity, no contradictions. Why didn't that persist? Why is there something? One answer says nothingness is unstable. Quantum mechanics suggests vacuum has energy. Empty space fluctuates, creates particles spontaneously. Maybe nothing can't last. It becomes something inevitably. Another approach invokes necessity. Maybe existence is necessary. Non-existence might be impossible. Anthropic principle notes we can only ask this if we exist. Selection bias. But perhaps existence is a brute mystery. A fact requiring no deeper fact. It is the ground beneath all other questions. Mystery number 47. What is dark matter made of? We know dark matter exists. Galaxy rotation proves it. But what particles comprise it? Leading candidate is WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles. They rarely collide with ordinary matter. Massive detectors underground search for these rare interactions. No confirmed detection yet. Another candidate is axions, extremely light particles. They could form a condensate filling space, or primordial black holes, formed in the early universe. Maybe modified gravity eliminates the need for dark matter entirely. Each theory has strengths and problems. Observations favor particle dark matter. But which particle? What remains deeply puzzling is the particle's identity, despite overwhelming evidence it exists. We are swimming in an invisible ocean. Mystery number 48. Is the universe infinite? Stand outside on a clear night. Stars extend to every horizon. Does space continue forever, or does it end? If space is infinite, it's always been infinite. The Big Bang didn't expand into space. Space itself expanded. If space is finite, what's beyond the edge? The question might be meaningless, like asking what's north of the North Pole. Finite space can curve back on itself. No edge, no outside. Measurements suggest the universe is flat or nearly flat. If exactly flat, it's likely infinite. We can only observe 46 billion light-years in any direction. The observable universe is finite, but the total universe could be vastly larger. What remains deeply puzzling is whether we can ever know. Information beyond the observable universe can't reach us. You've drifted through 8 deeply puzzling mysteries, questions where reality fragments into competing theories, where observation changes outcomes. This is the place where knowing you don't know is its own kind of knowing, where the mystery deepens but doesn't disappear. Let's step inside something profound. Now we go deep. Our second spotlight, the mystery that questions reality itself, the double-slit experiment, perhaps the strangest phenomenon in all of science. Here's the setup. A barrier with 2 narrow slits. Behind it, a detector screen. Shoot particles through. Electrons, one at a time. Intuition says each electron goes through one slit or the other, like shooting tiny marbles. You'd expect 2 bands on the detector, but that's not what happens. Instead, an interference pattern emerges. Multiple bands, light and dark stripes, the pattern you get from waves, like ripples in water passing through 2 gaps. They interfere, but we're shooting particles, one at a time. Each electron goes through both slits, interferes with itself, then lands at a point on the detector. Each electron exists in superposition, not here or there, both, simultaneously, until it hits the detector. Then it becomes definite. But here's where it gets stranger. Add detectors at the slits. Watch which slit the electron goes through. Now you know its path. Run the experiment. The interference pattern disappears. Just by observing, you change the outcome. The electron behaves like a particle when watched, like a wave when not watched. The act of measurement determines reality. This is the observer effect. Not that measuring jostles the particle, but that information collapses the probability. What does this mean? Does consciousness cause collapse? Does the universe split into parallel worlds? Or is reality fundamentally relational, defined only by interactions? Niels Bohr said, "If quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it." We are deeply puzzled, swimming in mystery. And that is exactly where science gets interesting. Mystery number 49. Does the multiverse exist? Every quantum measurement might create a new universe. Every decision splits reality. Infinite parallel worlds. Eternal inflation suggests infinite space-spawning bubble universes perpetually. Each bubble has different physics. Our universe is one bubble among infinite. String theory proposes a landscape of possible universes. Anthropic reasoning uses the multiverse to explain fine-tuning. If infinite universes exist, some will allow life. We're in one, obviously. But critics argue multiverse isn't science, can't be tested, can't observe other universes. What remains deeply puzzling is whether the multiverse is real or just a mathematical possibility. Does mathematics alone make something physically exist? Mystery number 50. Why is there more matter than antimatter? The Big Bang should have created equal amounts of matter and antimatter. They annihilate on contact, energy released. If perfect symmetry existed, everything would have annihilated. The universe would be only radiation. No atoms, no stars, no you. But clearly, matter dominates. Something broke the symmetry, created a tiny excess of matter, one extra matter particle for every billion pairs. After annihilation, that tiny excess remained, became everything we see. But what broke the symmetry? Physics predicts asymmetry too small to explain the universe. New physics must be involved. Processes in the early universe we don't understand. What remains deeply puzzling is the specific mechanism. Why does matter exist instead of just light? Mystery number 51. What is information? You're receiving information right now. These words. But what is information fundamentally? Shannon defined it as reduction of uncertainty, surprise value. But is information physical? Does it have mass, energy, or is it an abstract pattern? John Wheeler proposed it from bit. Reality emerges from information. The physical universe is an information structure. Quantum mechanics suggests information is fundamental. Quantum states are information. The black hole information paradox raises questions. Information entering a black hole seems destroyed. But quantum mechanics says information can't be destroyed. What remains deeply puzzling is information's true status. Is it physical substance, mathematical abstraction, or the foundation of reality itself? Mystery number 52. Why is the sun's corona so hot? The surface of the sun is hot, about 5,500 degrees Celsius, but if you move away from the surface, into the sun's atmosphere, the corona, the temperature skyrockets. It reaches millions of degrees. This violates common sense. It's like walking away from a campfire and feeling it get hotter the further you go. Why? Scientists suspect magnetic fields play a role. Twisted magnetic lines might snap, releasing massive energy. Nanoflares. Or perhaps magnetic waves carry energy from the surface up into the atmosphere. But the precise mechanism remains elusive. We live next to a star we still don't fully understand. Mystery number 53. The Dancing Plague of 1518. In July 1518, a woman in Strasbourg began to dance in the street. She didn't stop. Within a week, dozens joined her. Within a month, hundreds. They danced until they collapsed from exhaustion, heart attack, or stroke. They couldn't stop. Why? Was it mass hysteria? Psychogenic illness triggered by extreme stress and famine? Was it ergot poisoning? A mold on rye bread that causes hallucinations and spasms? Or a religious trance induced by local beliefs? The fever broke as suddenly as it began. It remains a haunting reminder of the strange power of the human mind and crowd psychology. Mystery number 54. Is math invented or discovered? Did humans invent mathematics, creating useful fictions for describing patterns? Or did we discover mathematics, uncovering objective truths existing independently? Platonists argue mathematics is discovered. Mathematical objects exist in an abstract realm, eternal, unchanging. Evidence. Mathematics describes physical reality remarkably well. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. Why would human invention fit nature so perfectly? But others argue mathematics is invented. Formal systems we construct. Games with symbols. Different cultures developed different mathematics. Neuroscientists suggest math emerges from brain structure. What remains deeply puzzling is nature's mathematical structure. Why does abstract math predict concrete physics? Mystery number 55. What is the speed of gravity? Gravity propagates at finite speed. Einstein predicted this. Gravitational waves travel at light speed, confirmed in 2015. But implications are strange. The sun's gravity holds Earth in orbit, but the sun's influence reaches Earth 8 minutes delayed. So Earth orbits where the sun was 8 minutes ago? Not quite. General relativity handles this through geometric curvature. Earth follows a path in curved space-time. Yet, puzzles remain. If the sun suddenly vanished, Earth would continue orbiting for 8 minutes before flying off. What remains deeply puzzling is how gravity balances instant geometric effects with limited propagation speed. Gravity is stranger than it seems. Mystery number 56. Why do we dream in stories? Every night your brain creates narratives, characters, plot, dramatic arc. But why stories specifically? Why not random imagery? One theory proposes threat simulation. Dreams rehearse responses to dangers, evolutionary advantage. Stories naturally frame threats. Another emphasizes memory consolidation. Brain replays experiences, integrates them. Narrative structure aids recall. Activation synthesis theory suggests dreams are the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural firing. Story creation is what brains do. But why do dreams feel so real while happening? Why don't we notice impossibilities? Flying, physics violations. Perhaps consciousness requires narrative. You is a narrative the brain tells itself. What remains deeply puzzling is why evolution favored this strange form of nightly theater. Mystery number 57. What determines species boundaries? Lions and tigers can interbreed, but they're different species. Why? Traditional definition: species can't interbreed, but many do. Wolves and dogs, polar bears and grizzlies, boundaries blur. Ring species complicate this. Adjacent populations interbreed, but populations at ring ends can't. Where do you draw the line? Some bacteria exchange genes freely. The species concept doesn't apply well. Perhaps species is a human construct. Nature doesn't have sharp boundaries, just populations varying continuously. We impose categories for convenience. What remains deeply puzzling is whether nature has species or only individuals. 17 mysteries deeper into the second circle. You are swimming in questions where reality fragments, where mathematics might be discovered or invented, where the sun's atmosphere defies logic. These aren't puzzles to solve quickly. They are territories to explore. Let your mind wander through them. If you are asleep, you are safe. If you are awake, we have more to see. Mystery number 58. Can consciousness exist without a body? Your consciousness seems tied to your brain. Damage the brain, consciousness changes. But must consciousness require a biological body? Some philosophers argue yes. Embodiment is essential. Consciousness emerges from interaction with the environment. Others propose consciousness could transfer. Upload mind to computer. Consciousness continues in digital substrate. Near-death experiences suggest consciousness persisting despite minimal brain activity. Dualism proposes mind and matter are separate substances. Perhaps consciousness requires certain organization regardless of substrate. Information integration. Self-reference. What remains deeply puzzling is personal identity. Even if consciousness transfers, is the copy you or a different person with your memories? The question touches the core of who we are. Mystery number 59. Why does time have a direction? Time flows forward. Future follows past. Causes precede effects. Eggs break, but don't unbreak. But physics is time-symmetric. Equations work equally forward and backward. Watch particle interactions reversed. They follow the same laws. So why does time flow? What creates the arrow? Entropy increases. Disorder grows. This direction defines time's arrow. But why did entropy start low? Maybe time's arrow is cosmological, related to universe expansion, or perhaps time's arrow is subjective. Your brain accumulates memories. This creates the sense of flow. But objectively, all moments exist equally. But if that's true, why does consciousness experience sequence? These questions lack definitive answers, just perspectives pointing at something mysterious. Mystery number 60. What is déjà vu? Suddenly you're certain you've experienced this exact moment before. Same room, same conversation. But you haven't. One theory proposes memory glitch. Present experience accidentally stores as memory and retrieves simultaneously. Creates false sense of pastness. Another suggests dual processing. One pathway delays slightly. Consciousness receives the same input twice. Feels like memory. Temporal lobe involvement seems likely. But what triggers it in healthy people? Similarity to past experience below conscious recognition? Or maybe attention lapses. You see the scene unconsciously, then consciously process it moments later. What remains deeply puzzling is the feeling itself. Why does it feel so compelling, so certain? Mystery number 61. How does general anesthesia work? We use it daily. Surgery would be impossible without it, yet we don't fully understand it. Different anesthetics affect different receptors, but they produce identical results: total unconsciousness. What's the common endpoint? The final switch? Some researchers propose thalamic gating. Anesthetics disrupt the thalamus. It stops relaying sensory information. Others emphasize cortical integration. Anesthesia breaks communication between brain regions. Consciousness vanishes. What remains deeply puzzling is what makes consciousness vulnerable. What's the weakest link? Mapping neural correlates during anesthesia provides clues to the nature of the soul's tether to the body. Mystery number 62. Are our physical constants arbitrary? Speed of light, electron charge, Planck's constant. These numbers define our universe. But why these specific values? Change any constant slightly, and the universe becomes impossible. Stars don't form. Life can't exist. Some argue this proves design, the anthropic principle. Others invoke the multiverse, infinite universes with different constants. We're in one that allows observers. String theory suggests constants emerge from geometric configuration of extra dimensions. But maybe constants aren't fundamental. Perhaps they emerge from deeper theory, determined necessarily. What remains deeply puzzling is whether constants could be different. Are they contingent or necessary? Mystery number 63. The WOW signal, August 15th, 1977. The Big Ear radio telescope detected a strong signal from space, lasted 72 seconds, never detected again. Astronomer Jerry Ehman wrote "Wow" on the printout. Signal characteristics suggested artificial origin. Narrow frequency. Intensity variations matched Earth's rotation, but the signal never repeated. Follow-up observations found nothing. Recent theory proposes comets. Hydrogen clouds around comets emit at the same frequency. 2 comets were in that region in 1977, but skeptics note problems. Comets don't typically emit such strong signals, or maybe genuinely extraterrestrial intelligence, a one-time transmission we caught. What remains deeply puzzling is the silence that followed. Mystery number 64. Why do we forget dreams? You dream every night, vivid experiences, but minutes after waking, most fade. Why? Neurochemistry explains part. During REM sleep, chemicals crucial for memory formation drop. Memory systems are offline. Hippocampus activity decreases. Perhaps forgetting dreams serves a function. Dreams process emotional content, but the processing itself needn't be remembered, like digestion. Or maybe dreams are too strange to translate. The waking mind can't represent dream logic. Some people recall dreams frequently, others rarely. What remains deeply puzzling is whether dreams we don't remember still affect us. Unconscious processing without conscious memory. Your night self lives a life your day self never knows. Mystery number 65. Is there a maximum temperature? Absolute zero is the minimum. Motion ceases. But is there a maximum? The Planck temperature is the proposed limit. Beyond this, current physics breaks down. Quantum gravity effects dominate. At Planck temperature, energy is high enough to create black holes from particles. Normal concepts lose meaning. The early universe approached this temperature. Fraction of a second after the Big Bang. No current process can reach it. Some theories suggest temperature continues increasing. Others propose temperature becomes meaningless. What remains deeply puzzling is whether maximum temperature is a physical limit or just a limit of current theory. It represents the horizon of our knowledge. Mystery number 66. What is the hum? In locations around the world, Taos, New Mexico, Bristol, England, Windsor, Canada, people hear a low-frequency hum, a persistent drone, like a diesel engine idling nearby. Only about 2% of the population can hear it. It causes insomnia, anxiety, headaches. Measurements often find nothing. No acoustic source. Is it tinnitus? Internal ear generation? Is it industrial equipment resonating through the ground? Is it the microseismic hum of the earth itself? Ocean waves vibrating the seafloor? Or extremely low-frequency radio waves interacting with the auditory nerve? For those who hear it, it is relentless. A sound with no source. A mystery that lives in the silence. Mystery number 67. What happens to information in black holes? Black holes trap everything, even light. Information that falls in seems lost, but quantum mechanics says information can't be destroyed. Paradox. Stephen Hawking showed black holes evaporate, emit radiation, eventually disappear. If information remains inside, it's destroyed when the black hole vanishes. But maybe information escapes in Hawking radiation, encoded subtly. The holographic principle proposes information never truly enters. It's encoded on the event horizon surface, like a sticker on a balloon. Or perhaps black holes don't fully evaporate. Remnants remain. Recent proposals invoke quantum entanglement. Information scrambles but doesn't disappear. What remains deeply puzzling is how information escapes without violating physics. The universe keeps its books balanced somehow. Mystery number 68. Why does music move us? Organized sound creates intense emotion. Music makes you cry, feel transcendent. Why? One theory proposes expectation. The brain predicts patterns. Music plays with these predictions. Violation and confirmation create emotion. Another emphasizes social bonding. Music coordinates groups. Shared rhythm, or maybe music mimics emotion itself. Sad music mimics sad speech patterns. But why do we seek sad music? Catharsis? Safe emotional practice? What remains deeply puzzling is music's universal appeal. Every culture creates music. It suggests a deep evolutionary origin, a language older than words. Mystery number 69. Is the universe a hologram? The holographic principle suggests three-dimensional space might be an illusion. All information in a volume could be encoded on a two-dimensional boundary surface. This comes from black hole physics. Entropy depends on surface area, not volume. Perhaps this applies universally. Our reality emerges from 2D information, like a hologram. String theory supports this. Equivalent descriptions in different dimensions. If true, depth is an illusion. Reality is fundamentally flat. But what's the boundary of our universe? Where's the screen? What remains deeply puzzling is whether this is literal or metaphorical. Do we live in a hologram, or is this just beautiful math? Mystery number 70. Why do placebos work better over time? The placebo effect is growing stronger. The same sugar pill works better now than in the 1980s. Why? One explanation is cultural. We trust medicine more. Higher expectations. Clinical trials are more sophisticated. Better screening. Media coverage might amplify beliefs. Doctor confidence matters. Physicians communicate more effectively. Or maybe medical ritual has intensified. More tests, more technology. The ritual creates the response. What remains deeply puzzling is whether this trend continues. How powerful can belief become? It is a reminder that culture shapes biology. Mystery number 71. What causes the Mpemba effect? Hot water sometimes freezes faster than cold water. Seems impossible, violates thermodynamics, but it happens. Aristotle noticed it. Modern science studies it. Mechanisms proposed. Evaporation reduces volume. Convection currents enhance cooling. Hydrogen bond structure changes, but experiments are inconsistent. Sometimes it happens, sometimes not. Hard to reproduce. Maybe Mpemba effect groups different phenomena. Recent research suggests hydrogen bond structure matters. Hot water has different molecular arrangement. What remains deeply puzzling is why such a simple experiment remains controversial. Water still holds secrets. Mystery number 72. Can we reverse aging? Aging seems inevitable. Cells degrade. But is it fundamental? Some organisms don't age. Lobsters, jellyfish. Researchers identified hallmarks of aging: telomere shortening, senescent cells. Interventions show promise in mice. Removing old cells. Caloric restriction. Parabiosis experiments suggest young blood rejuvenates old tissue. What remains deeply puzzling is whether reversing aging is possible for humans, or whether trade-offs exist. Cancer versus aging. Evolution balanced these forces. Disrupting the balance might have costs, but the quest continues. Mystery number 73. Why is the brain divided? Your brain has two hemispheres, not identical. Left typically handles language. Right handles spatial reasoning. Why? Lateralization appears early, even in the womb. Why lateralize? Efficiency. Specialization allows deeper processing, avoids interference. Communication occurs through the corpus callosum. But what remains deeply puzzling is whether this organization is optimal. Why not duplicate everything? Individual differences are enormous. It is a reminder that we are two minds in one. Mystery number 74. Is faster than light travel possible? Einstein showed nothing with mass can reach light speed, the cosmic speed limit. But theoretical proposals exist. Warp drive, warping space itself. The ship stays still, space moves. Wormholes, tunnels through space-time. But these require exotic matter, negative energy, enormous power, and they might violate causality, creating time travel paradoxes. Quantum entanglement connects instantly, but can't send information. What remains deeply puzzling is whether the universe forbids shortcuts, or if we just haven't found the door yet. Mystery number 75. Why do we have emotions? Evolution could have created rational decision makers, pure logic. Instead, we have feelings. Why? One view. Emotions are rapid decision systems, shortcuts. Fear makes you run before you think. Another. Social signaling. Emotions communicate intentions quickly, or motivation. Emotions drive behavior toward survival. Hunger, love. But emotions often seem irrational. Phobias, anxiety. Mystery number 76. Can we create artificial life? We understand life's chemistry, DNA, proteins. Could we build it from scratch? Synthetic biology creates artificial cells, genomes synthesized in labs, but true artificial life would use different chemistry, not DNA, alien biochemistry, or digital life, programs that evolve, reproduce. Are they alive? What remains deeply puzzling is the boundary. What makes something alive? Is there a bright line or a gradual transition? Creating life teaches us what life is. Mystery number 77. What is the universe's shape? Is space flat, curved, closed like a sphere, open like a saddle? Measurements suggest flat, but uncertainty exists. Slight curvature is possible. If closed, you could travel far enough and return to the start. If flat, it likely extends infinitely. Topology adds complexity. Space could be flat but wrapped like a torus. we can only observe a limited bubble. The total universe might be vastly larger. What remains deeply puzzling is whether we can ever know the global geometry. We are ants on a balloon trying to measure the curve. Perhaps they are compromises, optimized for an ancient world. What remains deeply puzzling is the consciousness of emotion. Why must we feel them? Why not just act? Feeling is the color of life. Mystery number 78. Why do we self-deceive? People believe things contradicting evidence. Why would evolution create self-deceptive minds? One theory: social advantage. Deceiving others is easier if you believe the lie yourself. Genuine confidence. Another: psychological protection. Uncomfortable truths cause distress. Self-deception protects mental health. Or maybe side effects. Our minds construct narratives. Sometimes we construct flattering ones. What remains deeply puzzling is the mechanism. How does one part of the mind deceive another? It requires a divided consciousness. Mystery number 79. What causes mass hysteria? Groups sometimes experience collective delusions. Fainting, illness, no physical cause. Social influence creates this. One person reports symptoms. Others notice similar feelings. Belief spreads. Stress amplifies susceptibility. Mirror neurons might be involved. Empathy becomes embodiment. What remains deeply puzzling is the boundary between real and psychogenic. The symptoms are physically real, but the cause is psychological. How does belief create such strong bodily effects? The mind is a powerful creator. Mystery number 80. Can we know if we're in the Matrix? The simulation hypothesis. Advanced civilizations creating simulated realities. If possible, most conscious beings are likely simulated. Statistically, you are probably simulated. But can we tell? Glitches? Pixel-like limits? Quantum randomness? Or maybe the question is meaningless. If the simulation is perfect, it is reality. What remains deeply puzzling is whether the question has an answer or whether we are dreaming within a dream. We have reached the final circle, Tier 3. These are the questions with no scientific answers, only wonder, only mystery. If you are still awake, that is remarkable. Most have drifted off by now, carried into dreams by earlier mysteries. But if you are here, still listening, still wondering, these final mysteries are for you. The deepest ones. Let's descend together. Mystery number 81. What is the universe expanding into? Space itself expands, galaxies recede, but into what? One answer: the question is meaningless. Space doesn't expand into anything. More space appears. Imagine an ant on a balloon. As it inflates, surface area grows, but it doesn't expand into anything on the surface. Maybe there is an outside, the multiverse, higher dimensions, or perhaps the universe is infinite, always was. Expansion just means density decreases. These concepts strain the mind, rest in the unknowing. Mystery number 82. What determines the arrow of time? Time flows forward, but physics is symmetric. Equations work backward. Why the flow? Entropy increases. This defines the arrow. But why did entropy start low? Maybe cosmological expansion, or quantum entanglement, or perhaps time's arrow is subjective. Your brain accumulates memory. But if true, why does consciousness experience sequence? These questions don't have answers, just perspectives. You exist in time, or time exists in you. Mystery number 83. What existed before the Big Bang? If time began with the Big Bang, there is no before. Some propose cyclic models, bouncing universes. Others invoke quantum tunneling from nothing. Multiverse theories suggest eternal inflation. Every answer pushes the question back. What caused that? Perhaps the universe is self-causing. Before the Big Bang was nothing. Everything. Neither. Both. Mystery number 84. Why is there something instead of nothing? Nothingness seems simpler. Default state. Why did something persist? Maybe nothingness is unstable. Quantum vacuum fluctuates. Maybe existence is necessary. Non-existence is incoherent. Anthropic principle. We ask because we are here. But why does any universe exist? Perhaps existence is a brute mystery, a fact requiring no fact beneath it. The groundless ground. Mystery number 85. What lies beyond the observable universe? We see 46 billion light years. If space is infinite, it continues forever. More galaxies. If finite, it curves back. But we can't observe beyond the horizon. Information can't reach us. Perhaps different physics exists out there. Unimaginable structures. Or more of the same. We will never know. The horizon is an absolute boundary. What lies beyond is forever mystery. Mystery number 86. Is reality fundamentally mathematical? Physicist Max Tegmark proposes the mathematical universe. Reality is math. Everything mathematically consistent exists. This explains why math describes physics. But how can abstract structure be physical? Maybe that distinction is an illusion, or maybe consciousness creates concreteness. What remains baffling is whether this explains anything, or just renames the mystery. Perhaps reality is math. Perhaps math is reality dreaming. Mystery number 87. What is the nature of nothingness? Try to imagine absolute nothing, not empty space, true nothing, no space, no time, no possibilities. Can you imagine it? Some say no. Thinking about nothing makes it something. Maybe nothingness is impossible, or maybe nothingness did exist and fluctuated into being. What is nothing? The question dissolves in contemplation. Mystery number 88. Can there be effects without causes? Causality seems fundamental, but quantum mechanics challenges this. Radioactive decay is random, uncaused. Virtual particles appear from nothing. Maybe causality is emergent, not fundamental, or hidden causes exist. Some say the universe itself is uncaused, the first cause. What remains baffling is whether our minds can accept uncaused effects. Reality might be stranger than causal thinking allows. Mystery number 89. Is consciousness fundamental? Does it emerge from complexity? Neurons firing? Or is it fundamental? Existing at all levels? Panpsychism. If emergent, how does experience arise from matter? If fundamental, how do tiny consciousnesses combine? Maybe it's relational. A relationship between observer and observed. The question assumes a dichotomy, mind versus matter. Perhaps they are two sides of one coin, the mystery investigating itself. Mystery number 90. What is the meaning of existence? Does existence have meaning, or do we create it? Religious answers offer divine purpose. Existentialists say we create meaning through choice. Nihilists say it's illusion. Scientists avoid the question. But perhaps meaning isn't found or created. Perhaps asking is the meaning. Consciousness wondering. You exist. You question. That might be enough. Mystery number 91. Free will and determinism. If physics determines everything, are we free? Compatibilism says yes if we act on desires. Libertarian free will requires indeterminism. Maybe free will is a useful illusion, or maybe the question confuses levels. Physical versus experiential. What remains baffling is reconciling subjective freedom with objective causation. The question transcends binary answers. Mystery number 92. What makes something beautiful? Beauty seems universal, But what is it? Evolution says it signals fitness, health, resources. But abstract beauty, math, perhaps it's pattern recognition, the brain detecting order, or maybe beauty is meaning, transcendent quality. What remains baffling is why beauty moves us. Why does it hurt? Perhaps beauty is how consciousness recognizes itself. Mystery number 93. Is infinity real? Mathematicians use infinity, but does it exist physically? Infinite space? Infinite universes? Or is infinity a concept, a limit we approach but never reach? Infinities in physics often mean theory breakdown. Can finite minds grasp infinity? Perhaps some concepts exceed comprehension. Mystery number 94. Mind and matter. Are they separate? Dualism. Are they the same? Physicalism or idealism? Maybe neutral monism, a neutral substance manifesting as both. The explanatory gap seems unbridgeable. How does gray matter produce the feeling of love? Perhaps mystery itself is the answer. Mystery number 95. Limits of logic. Gödel proved logic has limits, true statements that can't be proven. Are there truths about reality logic can't capture? Consciousness? God? Meaning? Some mystics say ultimate reality is ineffable, beyond words. Perhaps knowing comes in forms beyond proof. Mystery might be a type of knowledge. Mystery number 96. Nature of possibility. Possible worlds. Do they exist? Modal realism says yes. All possibilities are real elsewhere. Others say they are just concepts. Quantum mechanics suggests possibilities are real. Superposition. What determines actualization? Perhaps we live in the intersection of the possible and the actual. Mystery number 97. Is the universe fine-tuned? Constants seem calibrated for life. Design, multiverse, necessity? Maybe life could arise with different constants. What remains baffling is whether fine-tuning needs explanation. Perhaps it's just brute fact. Or perhaps life fine-tuned itself for the universe. Mystery number 98. The present moment. What is now? Physics says it's infinitesimal. Psychology says it's 3 seconds. Relativity says it's relative. Maybe only now is real. Past and future are concepts. Or maybe all moments exist equally. Why does now feel special? Mystery number 99. Can anything be truly random? Quantum mechanics says yes. Einstein said no. Hidden variables. Bell's theorem rules out local hidden variables. Maybe randomness is lack of knowledge, chaos, or maybe true novelty exists. What remains baffling is whether randomness is real or apparent. Perhaps some things just happen. Mystery number 100. Why this universe? Infinite possibilities. Why this one? Maybe all exist. Maybe this one is necessary. Maybe anthropic selection. Or maybe there is no why. It just is. The ultimate mystery. The first and last question. Why anything? No answer. Just existence. We've reached the end. There's one question left. The question beneath all others. Why is there something instead of nothing? Think about nothing. Absolute nothing. No space. No time. No laws. No possibilities. Logically, nothing is simpler than something. No complexity. No contradictions. But something exists. You exist. And that's profoundly strange. Why didn't nothing persist? Maybe nothingness is impossible, unstable. Maybe existence is necessary. Or maybe existence is a brute mystery. The groundless ground. All explanations bottom out somewhere. Why not here? It feels unsatisfying. We want reasons. But maybe that's all it is. The universe exists. You exist. Or maybe there is a why, but we can't grasp it. Like an ant trying to understand calculus. The concepts don't fit. Or maybe the question is a mistake. Existence might not have a why, just a how. No cosmic purpose means you create purpose. Freedom, or maybe meaning, is woven into existence, emergent. These are the depths, the questions without answers. And maybe that's beautiful. If we knew everything, we'd be finished. Wonder is the human essence. So rest in mystery, not knowing why anything exists, just knowing it does. You do. This moment does. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. Rest now, in the existence that cannot be explained, only experienced, only lived, only wondered at. We've journeyed through curiosity, wonder, and mystery together. 100 questions, from the almost solved to the completely baffling. And what have we learned? That the universe is more mysterious than we imagined. That knowledge reveals ignorance. The more we know, the more we wonder. Science has explained so much, yet mystery remains, not diminished, deepened, and that is beautiful. The universe should be inexhaustible, forever mysterious, forever inviting exploration. If you are still awake, thank you for journeying with me. You don't need to remember any of this. The mysteries will be here tomorrow, forever, waiting. Sleep well, knowing you've touched something profound. The edges of knowledge, the boundaries of understanding. And perhaps in your dreams, the universe will whisper answers, or perhaps just more questions. Either way, you will rest, held by the unknown, embraced by mystery. Sleep well and sweet dreams.